The success traps nobody talks about. Not almost in the vague motivational sense. Actually, almost. The draft is finished. The application is open in another tab. The email is written. You just haven't sent it. The project is 90% done and has been 90% done for 3 weeks. And something is happening in you that doesn't quite make sense. It's not that you don't want it. You do. You've wanted it for a long time. You've worked toward it, thought about it, planned around it, told yourself you'd do it. But right here, right at this moment, right at the threshold, you don't move. Instead, something else happens. You suddenly notice the apartment needs cleaning. You decide this isn't quite the right time. Maybe next week when things settle down. You open your phone. You start a different project. You find a reason. A plausible, reasonable sounding reason to take one step back from the edge, and then you feel something strange, relief, not the relief of completion, the relief of retreat. That relief is the most important thing in this entire video, because understanding why it's there, why it feels so good to stop right before you succeed, is the key to understanding the whole mechanism. Modern behavioral patterns. Let's name the behaviors because they're specific. You finish the hardest part of a project and then spend 2 weeks doing nothing on the last easy part. You write the post and then don't publish it. You prepare the pitch and then keep refining it. You start a creative project, get genuinely good at it, and then quietly stop at the exact moment it starts to feel real. You set an important meeting and then, the morning of, feel an overwhelming urge to reschedule. You get close to a deadline and suddenly discover you need more research, more preparation, one more practice run. Not because you actually need it, but because preparation feels safe in a way that execution doesn't. You lose weight, get close to your goal, and then, without quite deciding to, you start eating differently. You gain some back. You tell yourself you'll restart Monday. The cycle resets. You're on a streak. The momentum is real. And then you break it almost deliberately and feel obscurely relieved when you do. These aren't random failures. They follow a pattern that's too consistent to be coincidence. They happen at a specific moment, not when the goal is distant, but when it is close, when it's about to become real. That precision is the tell, the psychological mechanism. Here's what's actually happening. Your nervous system is not oriented around success. It is oriented around prediction. Its core function, the one it prioritizes above almost everything else, is to keep your experience of the world predictable and therefore safe. Familiar pain is manageable. Your brain has already modeled it. It knows what it looks like, how bad it gets, how long it lasts. It has coping strategies ready. Uncertain success is something else entirely. Success means change. It means new demands, new visibility, new responsibilities you don't yet have a map for. Your brain looks at that territory and flags it the same way it would flag any unknown. Caution, unpredictable, potentially dangerous. And so it does what it always does with potential danger. It pulls you back toward the familiar. This is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do, applied to a situation it wasn't designed to handle. Because the nervous system was never designed for the particular emotional complexity of modern ambition. It was designed for a world where the unfamiliar was, in fact, usually dangerous. It's doing its job. The job just doesn't fit the situation. The identity threat. There's a deeper layer. The comfort zone isn't just a place where nothing challenges you. It's the container that holds your identity. The story you tell about who you are, your self-concept, lives inside a particular range of experience. It's calibrated to your current life. It reflects the version of you that exists right now. Progress doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes the story, and the brain, in which needs a coherent, continuous self-narrative to function, treats a break in that narrative as a genuine threat. Not metaphorically, neurologically, identity disruption activates the same threat detection systems as physical danger. So when you're about to succeed in a significant way, something in you registers it not just as good thing incoming, but as the person I currently am is about to stop being true. If I finish this and it works, I'm someone who does things like this now, which means I have to keep doing things like this, which means I'm responsible for sustaining this, which means people will expect this from me, which means if I fail later, I'll have fallen from a higher height. None of this is a conscious calculation. It doesn't arrive as a thought. It arrives as a feeling, usually vague anxiety, a sudden deflation of energy, an inexplicable resistance that you interpret as not feeling it today. But underneath that feeling is a question the brain is quietly asking. Are you sure you want to become this person? Because once you do, you can't unknow it. The self-sabotage loop. The loop runs like this. You build towards something. Energy accumulates. Momentum is real. Then you get close enough that success becomes specific and near rather than abstract and distant, and anxiety spikes. Not a dramatic spike, just a quiet internal tightening that makes forward movement feel suddenly heavier. So you avoid, you delay, you find the preparation that still needs doing, the timing that still isn't quite right, the flaw in the plan that still needs fixing. And then, immediately, relief. This is the critical moment because the relief is not a small feeling. It is disproportionately large. Pulling back from the edge of a perceived threat produces a physiological sigh, a release of tension, a return to the familiar. That relief gets stored as the outcome of the avoidance behavior. Your brain learns at a level below language. When proximity becomes threatening, retreat produces safety. The loop reinforces itself every time it runs. And then a day or a week later, regret arrives, quieter, less intense than the relief was. The brain is not symmetric about these two feelings. The immediate relief of retreat is louder than the slow regret of stagnation, which means the math from the nervous system's perspective keeps favoring retreat. You don't repeat this because you're irrational. You repeat it because the emotional arithmetic keeps producing the same answer. The hidden forms of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is rarely dramatic. It almost never looks like giving up. It looks like perfectionism. The project isn't ready. The work isn't good enough yet. You need to refine it once more before it's fit to be seen. This one is particularly insidious because it borrows the language of standards while functioning as concealment. It looks like over-preparation. One more course, one more book, one more month of practice before you're truly ready to begin. Preparation without a deadline is just structured avoidance wearing a productive disguise. It looks like poor timing. This isn't the right moment. Things are too uncertain. Better to wait until life is more stable, until you have more energy, until the season changes. It looks like sudden low energy, that specific inexplicable fatigue that arrives the morning of the thing you've been working toward, your body producing friction right when you need it least. It looks like horizontal movement, starting something new just as the previous thing was about to require you to be seen, pivoting, rebranding, deciding the whole direction was wrong, not because you evaluated it carefully, but because it was getting real. These forms all share a structure. They feel like responsible caution and function as retreat. They provide plausible deniability to others and, more importantly, to yourself. Because if you never fully commit, you never fully fail. And the brain knows this. The emotional core. There are three fears that run under all of this. The first is the fear of being seen trying. Trying is vulnerable. It is a public declaration that you want something, which means failing becomes visible. There is a protection in ambiguity, and I could do this if I wanted to, that disappears the moment you actually attempt it. Many people lose that protection and don't know how to function without it. The second is the fear of failing after committing. There's a specific pain in falling from a height you climbed deliberately. Failing at something you never fully attempted is painful, but it leaves an exit available. The "I never really tried" door. Committing fully and then failing closes that door. It makes the failure clean, unambiguous, and yours. That specificity is terrifying to a brain that prefers deniable outcomes. The third is the fear of becoming responsible. Success makes you accountable for maintaining it, for the expectations it creates, for the version of yourself it requires you to be consistently over time. Responsibility isn't just a burden, it's an lechikazmai. It's a new identity you didn't fully consent to, and something in you knows that once you succeed, you own it. You can't return the package. These fears don't announce themselves clearly. They arrive as fog, as low energy, flat affect, vague resistance. They feel like circumstance rather than psychology. That's what makes them effective. The realization shift. Here is the reframe. Self-sabotage is not self-destruction. It is self-protection. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life. It is trying to keep you safe from a threat it has genuinely registered. The threat of identity instability, of exposed vulnerability, of uncertain terrain that has no existing map. It's not malicious. It's miscalibrated, and this matters because the way you engage with something changes entirely depending on whether you see it as a flaw to overcome or a mechanism to understand. Fighting your own nervous system from a place of self-contempt produces more tension, not less. The system escalates in response to pressure, but understanding it, watching the loop with enough clarity that you can name each stage as it happens, introduces something the automatic pattern can't survive. A pause, not a forced pause, not "I will be stronger than this." Just a genuine moment of recognition. The resistance I'm feeling right now is not information about the quality of my work or the rightness of the timing. It's the mechanism firing. It fires at this exact point every time. I recognize where I am in the loop. That recognition doesn't make the anxiety disappear, but it changes the relationship to it. You stop treating the feeling as data about external reality and start seeing it as data about internal pattern. And patterns, once visible, lose their automatic quality. The loop still runs, but now there's a witness inside it. And that witness, that small, steady part of you that can observe without immediately reacting, that's where actual choice lives. The exit from the loop. There's no version of progress that doesn't feel like danger first. That's not a design flaw. It's just the nature of moving into territory that doesn't yet have a version of you in it. Your brain will flag it. Your body will resist. Something in you will generate a reason to wait. That experience doesn't mean stop. It means you're close. The anxiety at the threshold is not a warning that you're wrong. It's a signal that you're actually near something that matters. Near enough that your whole system is paying attention. Near enough that the stakes feel real. The comfort zone isn't a lazy place. It's a known place. And leaving it doesn't require you to be fearless. It just requires you to move while the fear is there. Not because someone told you to be brave, but because you can finally see the mechanism clearly enough to stop mistaking it for reality. The loop was always just a loop, and loops have exits.